Some moments hit like a quiet storm, the kind that slips in without warning and suddenly rearranges everything you thought you understood about your life. For Ilara Vance, that moment happened on a calm, ordinary night when she least expected anyone to notice her at all. She had stepped outside the cafe where she worked, the kind of place tucked between old brick buildings and warm streetlights. The evening air felt colder than usual, brushing against her cheeks as she leaned against the wall, trying to steady her breath. Ilara wasn't crying, not exactly. Her eyes simply held more weight than they should, as if she had been carrying unspoken worries for far too long. She thought she was alone. She thought no one would see. But then a quiet voice broke through the stillness. "Are you okay?" Those three small words came from Rowan Hale, a man who had walked into the cafe nearly every evening for months, but rarely said more than a polite thank you and a soft smile. He was steady in the way some people just naturally are, calm, dependable, and always on the edge of something unspoken. Ilara startled when she saw him standing there with a warm scarf wrapped loosely around his neck, a cup of hot tea still in his hand. He looked at her as if nothing in the world mattered more than the answer to that question. Ilara forced a small smile. "I'm fine," she said, though the words didn't sound like they belonged to her. Rowan didn't push, but he didn't walk away either. He simply stepped closer, making sure not to crowd her, and leaned lightly against the wall beside her. "You don't have to tell me anything," he said gently. "I just wanted to make sure you weren't standing out here alone with something heavy on your mind." That was the thing about Rowan. He had a softness people rarely noticed until it was directed at them. And that softness hit Ilara harder than she expected. For months, she had been holding herself together with quiet determination, working long hours, helping her younger sister through school, and pretending everything was fine even when doubt tugged at her every step. She had grown used to being the steady one, the responsible one, the one who kept going no matter what. Yet in that moment, with Rowan's quiet eyes on her, she felt the tiniest crack in her armor. "It's just been a long week," she said, her voice softer now. Rowan nodded. Long weeks happen, sometimes too often. His tone wasn't pitying. It wasn't dramatic. It was simply human, honest, and kind. And for Ilara, that kindness felt like the first warm breath after a long winter. A breeze passed through the street, lifting a few strands of her hair. Rowan noticed, gently tucking them behind her shoulder. The gesture was slow, careful, almost hesitant, as if he wanted to make sure it wasn't too much. Ilara's breath caught just a little. She had never thought of Rowan beyond quiet greetings and familiar routines. But suddenly, she was noticing the steadiness of his hands, the warmth in his voice, the way he seemed to carry his own quiet stories beneath the surface. "I'm really okay," she whispered, though she wasn't sure why she felt the need to say it again. "Maybe," he said softly, "but if you ever need someone to talk to, I'll listen." Something shifted then, not loud, not overwhelming, but gentle and unmistakable, a connection forming in the quiet between them. Before either of them could speak again, the cafe doors swung open behind them, flooding the alley with warm light. Ilara's coworker called her name, reminding her she still had a shift to finish. She turned back to Rowan, uncertain of what to say, but Rowan only gave her a faint, reassuring smile, the kind that said he understood more than he let on. And as she stepped back inside, she felt the lingering warmth of that question echoing through her chest. "Are you okay?" She didn't know how to explain it yet, but that simple moment was about to change everything. If you're enjoying this story so far, please like the video and subscribe for more heartfelt tales. Ilara paused at the doorway, glancing back one last time, only to find Rowan still watching her, as if he wasn't ready to let the moment end. And deep down, she wasn't sure she was either. Sleep didn't come easily for Ilara that night, She kept replaying Rowan's voice in her mind, calm, steady, and quietly sincere. Most people asked, "Are you okay?" the way they asked about the weather, without expecting anything real in return. But Rowan had asked as if her answer mattered, as if she mattered. She lay in the small bedroom of the apartment she shared with her younger sister, staring at the ceiling while the faint hum of the city drifted through the window. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the way Rowan had looked at her, not intrusively, not intensely, but with a kind of gentle understanding that felt rare in a world that always rushed. By the time morning arrived, she still hadn't found the right words to explain why that simple question had left such an ache in her chest. When she stepped out into the cool air, sunlight just starting to stretch across the rooftops, she hoped the day would wash the feeling away. But it didn't. If anything, it grew. At the cafe, her coworkers immediately sensed she wasn't herself. They teased her lightly, guessing she was tired or stressed. Alara just smiled along, too distracted to offer more. Around mid-morning, she heard the familiar bell above the door. Her breath caught without her permission. Rowan walked in. He looked like he always did. Simple sweater, quiet expression, yet something felt different now. Maybe it was because she was seeing him with new clarity, noticing how he carried his thoughts like silent luggage, carefully held but never shown. He stepped up to the counter, offering her the same soft smile he always did. But this time, her heart reacted in a way she didn't understand. "Morning, Alara," he said gently. She blinked, surprised he remembered her name. "Morning." Their exchange should have ended there. Small talk, a drink order, nothing more. But Rowan hesitated, and in that hesitation, something warm flickered between them. "Last night," he said quietly, "I hope I didn't make you uncomfortable." "You didn't," she replied a little too quickly. "Actually, I appreciated it." His shoulders relaxed, just barely. "Good. I meant what I said, by the way." "How so?" "That if you ever need someone to talk to," he paused, meeting her eyes, "I'm around." The words were simple, almost ordinary, and yet Alara felt something shift again, a tiny pull she wasn't ready to name. Their moment was interrupted when a line of customers formed behind Rowan. He stepped aside, moving to his usual corner seat, but he kept glancing toward her with those same thoughtful eyes. All through the morning rush, she felt his presence like a steady heartbeat in the room. Her hands moved automatically, serving drinks and wiping tables, but her thoughts kept circling back to him. Why did it matter so much? Why did she feel seen in a way she hadn't felt in years? During a short lull, Rowan lifted his hand slightly, as if unsure whether he should call her over. Alara hesitated, then walked to his table, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "You busy after work?" he asked softly. Her heart skipped. "Probably not. Why?" "There's a small park a few blocks away. Quiet. Nice place to walk." He paused, searching her face. "If you'd like some fresh air." Alara had no reason to say yes. They barely knew each other. And yet, something inside her whispered that maybe this was exactly what she needed. Someone gentle, someone patient, someone willing to simply be there without expecting anything in return. "I'd like that," she said. Rowan's smile was small, but warm enough to reach his eyes. "Great, I'll wait outside later." All afternoon, anticipation hummed through her chest, gentle but insistent. She told herself it was just a walk, nothing more. Yet the thought of seeing him again made the hours feel slower, softer, and strangely hopeful. But as the sun began to sink toward the horizon and her shift neared its end, something unexpected happened. Rowan walked outside to wait, and Alara's phone buzzed with a call she never wanted to receive. A call that stopped her in her tracks. A call that changed her expression so suddenly her coworker froze beside her. And when Rowan glanced through the window, he saw the color drain from her face. He knew instantly something was wrong. Alara's phone vibrated again, the second call in less than a heartbeat, and that alone told her something was terribly wrong. Her younger sister never called twice unless it was serious. For a moment, she couldn't even answer. She just stood there behind the counter, breath trapped in her chest, eyes fixed on the glowing screen. Her coworker whispered her name, gently urging her. Alara finally swiped to accept. "Lena?" she asked, her voice trembling before she could steady it. Her sister's voice came through small and frightened. "Alara, I didn't know who else to call. Can you come home? Something happened." Her stomach dropped. "What do you mean? Are you hurt?" "No," Lena said quickly. "Not me. Just please come home. I'll explain." The call ended before Alara could ask anything else. She stood frozen, fingers still curled around the phone, trying to swallow the wave of fear rising in her throat. Outside the cafe window, Rowan waited with his hands tucked into his pockets. When he saw her expression, his posture shifted instantly, concern replacing his earlier quiet calm. Alara grabbed her coat with shaky hands. "I have to go," she told her coworker. "My sister needs me." As she rushed outside, Rowan stepped forward, worry woven across his face. "Alara, what happened?" "I'm not sure," she admitted, trying to control her breathing. "Lena called. She sounded terrified." "Do you want me to come with you?" His voice was soft, steady, and so sincere it nearly broke her. She hesitated, not because she didn't want him there, but because she didn't know if it was fair to pull him into her world so suddenly. He barely knew her. He had no reason to offer help. But when she looked into his eyes, she saw nothing but genuine concern. "Yes," she whispered, "if you don't mind." "I don't," he said. "Let's go." They walked quickly through the twilight streets, the city's glow catching the anxiety in Alara's movements. Rowan kept close, not crowding her, but making sure she felt his presence, solid and reassuring. Halfway to her building, she finally spoke. "I'm scared," she admitted quietly. "Lena's strong, but when she sounds afraid, something's wrong." Rowan nodded. "Whatever it is, you won't face it alone." Those words, so simple, so gentle, eased the crushing pressure in her chest, even if only by a little. When they reached her apartment building, Lena was waiting at the bottom of the stairs, pacing with frantic energy. Her face lit up with relief the moment she saw Alara. "Oh, thank goodness," Lena breathed out, rushing to her. "I didn't know what to do." Alara held her shoulders gently. "Tell me what happened." Lena glanced at Rowan, unsure. "It's okay," Alara said softly. "He's with me." Lena nodded, still shaken. "I came home from my study group and the front door was open." Alara's heart lurched. "Open?" "Yes," Lena whispered. "I know I locked it. I always lock it." Rowan tensed beside them, listening closely. Lena swallowed hard. "I walked inside and everything looked normal except your room. Someone went through your stuff." Alara felt the world tilt for a second, a cold rush washing through her. "My room?" Lena nodded. "Nothing was taken from mine, only yours. Drawers pulled open, papers on the floor, like someone was searching for something." The street noise faded around them, replaced by the hollow echo of that idea. Someone had been inside. Someone had touched her things. Someone had been looking for something they believed she had. Rowan stepped closer, voice calm but firm. "Let's go upstairs, carefully. We'll figure this out together." Alara didn't want to move, didn't want to see the mess, didn't want to face the reality waiting behind her door. But Rowan's presence steadied her enough to take the first step. Lena clung to her arm as they climbed the stairs, each creak of wood echoing louder than it should. The hallway felt colder, the shadows heavier. When they reached their apartment door, Alara paused, her hand trembling above the handle. Rowan looked at her with quiet reassurance. "I'm right here," he said. And with that, she pushed the door open, only to freeze at the sight waiting inside. Something had been left on her bed, something she never expected to see, something that made Rowan inhale sharply beside her. The apartment was silent in a way that didn't feel natural, not like a quiet home at the end of a long day, but the kind of silence that forms after something has already gone wrong. Alara stepped inside slowly, her breath shallow as her eyes adjusted to the dim light. Lena stayed close behind her, while Rowan walked in with steady caution, scanning the room with quiet focus. Everything looked ordinary at first. The small kitchen, the worn sofa, the shelf filled with mismatched books. But when they reached Alara's bedroom doorway, the air shifted again. Drawers hung half open. Papers were scattered across the floor. Her dresser had been pulled away from the wall just slightly, as if someone had searched behind it. But none of that was what made her freeze. There, resting neatly in the center of her bed, was a folded envelope. Not tossed, not dropped, placed. Alara felt her pulse thudding in her ears. Lena whispered, "I didn't touch it, I swear." Rowan stepped beside Alara, his voice low. "Do you recognize it?" She shook her head slowly. "No, but someone wanted me to see it." Her hands trembled as she reached for the envelope, and Rowan gently placed his hand over hers for a moment, grounding her. "You don't have to open it alone," he said softly. With a shaky breath, Alara nodded and opened it, and inside was a single sheet of paper. No greeting, no signature, just one handwritten line. "You can't hide the truth forever." The words hit harder than she expected, sharp, cold, and hauntingly familiar, not because she recognized the handwriting, but because something about the message tugged at long-buried memories she had spent years trying to ignore. Lena covered her mouth. "Alara, what does that mean?" Alara didn't answer right away. She stared at the paper as if it held pieces of her past she never wanted to revisit. Little fragments of childhood, broken promises, difficult years, secrets she had fought so hard to protect, rose to the surface. Rowan watched her carefully, not pushing, but sensing the shift in her breathing. "Alara," he said gently, "is there something you need to tell us?" Her throat tightened. I don't know," she whispered. "This doesn't make sense. No one from my past even knows where I live. No one even—" She stopped suddenly. Lena stepped closer. "What is it?" "There was someone," Alara murmured, "months ago. A man who asked about Mom. I didn't think anything of it at the time, but he seemed too curious." Rowan's expression darkened with concern. "Did he threaten you?" "No," she said quickly, "just asked questions about where she went, why she left, but I didn't give him anything. I barely even talked to him." She swallowed hard. "I thought that was the end of it." Lena's voice trembled. "Do you think he came here?" Alara didn't want to say yes, but the truth pressed at her chest with quiet certainty. Rowan took the letter from her gently, examining it without touching anything else in the room. "This wasn't random," he said softly. "Someone wanted to send a message." Alara turned away, her hands gripping the edge of the dresser to steady herself. She felt overwhelmed, small, and exposed in a way she hadn't felt in years. "I don't understand why he would come here," she whispered. "Why now?" Rowan approached her slowly, giving her the space to pull away if she needed to. She didn't. "Alara," he said in a quiet, steady voice, "whatever this is, you're not facing it alone. Not tonight, not after this." Lena nodded fiercely. "We'll figure it out. Together." But Alara felt the old fear creeping in, the same fear she had lived with growing up, The fear that someone could take away the fragile stability she had built from nothing. "I don't want to drag either of you into this," she said. Rowan shook his head gently. "You didn't. Someone crossed into your life, but we're here with you now, and you're not dealing with this in the dark." Tears stung her eyes, though she blinked them back. "I don't even know what the truth is anymore. I don't know what they're looking for." Rowan touched her shoulder, soft and reassuring. "Then we'll start by finding out." Before Eli could respond, Lena gasped and pointed toward the corner of the room. "Ilara, look!" There, half hidden beneath the dresser's edge, was something else. A small, folded slip of paper, as if it had fallen or been tucked there intentionally. Rowan bent down to pick it up. He unfolded it slowly, his eyes narrowing as he read. His expression shifted, not with fear, but with something deeper. Something that made the room feel suddenly heavier. "Ilara," he whispered, "you need to see this." She stepped toward him, heart pounding, and the moment she saw the words on the paper, her breath caught in her chest. It was her full name, written with deliberate precision, and beneath it, a date, one she had never forgotten. A date tied to the biggest secret she had ever kept. Ilara's fingers trembled as she took the slip of paper from Rowan's hand. Her full name stared back at her, every letter written with unsettling care, and beneath it, the date she had tried so hard to bury. A date from years ago, a date tied to a moment that had shaped her life in quiet, painful ways. Lena whispered, "Ilara, what does it mean?" Ilara couldn't speak at first. She felt the room closing in, the walls pressing closer, the past rising like cold water around her. She steadied herself against the foot of the bed, breathing slowly, willing herself not to fall apart. Rowan knelt beside her, his voice soft. "You can tell us. Whatever it is, we'll handle it." Ilara closed her eyes. For a long moment, she didn't know if she could share something she had never spoken aloud, not even to Lena. But then she thought of the broken door, the scattered drawers, the messages someone had left behind, and she knew she couldn't keep the truth locked away anymore. "That date," she whispered, forcing the words out, "was the day our mother disappeared." Lena's breath hitched. "You never told me the exact date." "I didn't want you to carry it," Ilara said softly. "You were too young. You barely understood what was happening." Rowan listened quietly, his gaze steady, never judging. Ilara continued, her voice trembling. "Mom left one morning without warning. No note, no explanation. I woke up and she was gone, and I panicked. I didn't know how to take care of us. I wasn't ready." She swallowed hard. "But there was something else, something I never told anyone." Lena stepped closer, gently touching her arm. "A few days after she vanished," Ilara said, "I found a letter hidden in one of her old books. It wasn't addressed to me. It wasn't even signed. But it warned her to stay away from someone dangerous." Rowan's expression darkened with quiet understanding. "I didn't understand it back then," Ilara whispered. "I only knew I had to protect us, so I hid the letter and never spoke of it again." Lena's voice cracked. "But do you think whoever wrote it might be the same person who was looking for her?" Ilara finished softly. "I don't know, but they must think I learned something from her, something she kept hidden." Rowan gently took the slip of paper from her hands. "Whoever came here," he said, "wanted to shake you. They wanted you scared." "Well, it worked," Lena whispered. Ilara exhaled shakily. "I never imagined the past could reach this far." "And yet," Rowan said gently, "here you are, still standing." She looked at him then, really looked. All evening, he had stayed by her side, steady as a lighthouse through fog. His presence wrapped around her like warm light, grounding her even as everything else felt uncertain. "What do I do now?" she whispered. Rowan took a breath, choosing his words with care. "First, you don't face this alone. Secondly, you let someone help you, someone who actually wants to protect you, not hurt you." Ilara blinked. "Rowan, why are you helping me this much?" He held her gaze, his voice soft but firm. "Because sometimes you meet someone, and you can tell their heart is carrying more weight than it ever should, and you want, more than anything, to lighten it." Her chest tightened in a way that felt both painful and strangely warm. She didn't know how, but Rowan had become someone she trusted deeply, someone who walked into the darkest part of her world without hesitation. Lena wiped her eyes. "So what now?" Rowan stood slowly, offering his hand to Ilara. "Now," he said, "we start fresh. We secure the apartment, we talk to the building manager, and tomorrow we figure out who's behind this, step by step." "And tonight?" she asked quietly. "Tonight," he said with a gentle smile, "you breathe, you rest, and you let the people who care about you stay close." Ilara looked at Lena, tearful but strong. She looked at Rowan, steady, calm, and quietly protective. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel alone. Not in fear, not in uncertainty, not in the weight she had carried for years. She took Rowan's hand. "Okay," she whispered. "Stay. Please." He nodded once, softly. "I'm not going anywhere." Ilara felt it then, the shift that had begun the moment he asked, "Are you okay?" Everything had changed, but for the first time, the change didn't terrify her. It felt like the beginning of something safer, something warmer, something hers.